Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Dogman Stories Special Edition, Friday the 13th. I found this particular story on the internet about a year ago, and it really kind of stood out in the back of my mind. I wanted to share it with you guys, and you all tell me what you think of it. And if you hear this and you're the person that wrote it, please do get in contact with me. I would love to hear any updates you may have on the situation. We here at Dogman Stories wish you the best, and we are always here to help. Devil Dogs. I'm a realtor and I need advice on this property I bought dirt cheap. I'm a real estate agent and I specialize in selling lakeside properties in Oklahoma. This happened this week and I'm very disturbed and have no idea how to handle this. I went to the police and they said it was a prank and told me to stop bothering them. On Wednesday, a man walked into my office and asked to speak with me about buying his land. I was on the phone when he walked in and told him to give me just a few minutes. While he was sitting there, I noticed he was staring straight into the wall with a 1,000-yard stare, and his hands seemed very shaky. I thought maybe he was on drugs or had PTSD or something like that. I finished my phone call up and started to talk with him. He offered me his lake house for a very cheap price, said he hadn't even cleaned his stuff out and I could have everything there. There were 2 kayaks, a small flat-bottom boat, a very nice furnished small vacation home, a dock, and a house also had a nice deck and a fire pit. The property was very secluded with only 2 other houses nearby, and the woods were untouched except for a road from the house to the dock. I knew I could sell this property for 6 to 8 times the amount he was asking, and I was on a hair trigger for any signs of a scam. He did seem very off. Something about him was not right, but as far as business, everything matched up. He had the deed and everything in order. Before I made the deal, I asked him if he could show me the place personally and let me make my decision. He got very pale and started saying he would never go there again, that he couldn't, and said I could take it now or he would leave. I asked him why he wouldn't go back, and he just stared at me and started shivering, but said nothing. I then asked him why he was selling it, and he told me he had to sell it, he couldn't use it anymore. This was very weird, but I decided to chance it and hopefully get a good profit and hope there would be no issues with the place. We finished all the papers that day, and as soon as he got the check, he left with barely a word. I was very excited about this, and I knew it had huge potential to make me a lot of money. I wanted to visit it and get it ready to put on the market as soon as I could. I made plans to go on Friday. I packed up some tools and my camera that morning and left early. I arrived around 8:30 and was blown away. The place was in perfect shape, and for the price I had paid, I basically got it for free. The man across the street had a for sale sign in front of his home also. I saw him about to drive off and walk over to him. I noticed as I got closer he looked very rough, like he'd been in a fight. He had big spots of dry blood on his coat and some nasty scratches on his face. I greeted him and asked him if everything was all right. He acted like he had schizophrenia. He was talking very fast and seemed to be in a fantasy land. He had told me he couldn't stay here any longer and that he had to go now. He said I shouldn't stay here either, because they might come back. I was very confused and worried, but before I could question him, he slammed the door and sped away. I walked back over to the house and started walking around my new property. I went down to the dock and was confused with how someone could sell this for such a price. There was nothing that needed repairs. I was stunned at the furnishings in the house. Someone had spent a lot of money on this place. I couldn't understand. I headed back towards the door and noticed a shotgun leaned against a chair. I checked it out to make sure it was unloaded, and it had 2 empty shells in it. I also noticed a .357 Magnum casing on the floor. I bent over to pick it up and saw a paper with writing on it that had fallen under the chair. This paper must be why all the unusual things have been going on. I'll post the contents below for you to read. As soon as I read it, I went to the police station and showed it to them and explained everything I saw. I haven't gone back and do not know how to proceed. Here is the letter. It's 1:07 a.m. and I'm here inside the lake house trapped. They're out there. I have no idea what they are, but they're not natural. If you find this, I'm probably dead. But here is what happened today. I came down by myself this time, just to decide to do some fishing and enjoy some alone time. Something just gave me a bad vibe when I pulled up though. I figured it's 'cause I was alone and there's usually others with me. I turned on the water and the electric and everything looked fine. No one had touched anything at the house. I was on the deck and I heard some crunches on the tree line. I looked over and saw what looked like a large deer scurrying away into the brush. This thing was huge though, and the fur was much thicker and darker though. I listened and I didn't hear nothing else, and I really didn't see it well enough to know it was not a deer or anything like it. I went back to my truck and drove down the road to the dock. It was about 5:30 p.m. and it started to get dark. I got out of the truck and walked to the end of the dock and was watching the sun set when I felt I was not alone. I turned around and saw a flash of fur. I was kind of uneasy now. Deer try to avoid people, but it seemed as if this thing was stalking me. I walked back to my truck and went back to the house. I never seen any creature do this before, except coyotes. This was too big to be any coyote though. I loaded up my revolver and grabbed a couple of extra shells just to be safe. I hadn't heard anyone else and decided to go see my neighbor Scott and ask if he had seen the same thing. His truck was there, so I knew he was home. As I walked over, it seemed creepily quiet. When I got near his deck, I seen his grill was tipped over and the embers were smoldering around it. I saw all the strange large handprints that ended like in claw-like points. There had been a struggle here. I checked the rest of the place out and saw no other signs of him. It was just like he vanished. I'm really worried now, and it's also getting very dark. There is no moon out tonight. I headed back toward our house and saw fresh prints all around my truck. This thing was here right now, and it was definitely curious about me. I grabbed my bag of food from the tailgate and headed up to the deck. I was going to go in and turn the floodlights on and call the sheriff to get them out here and try to find where Scott is and figure out what the hell is out here. As I went towards the deck, I smelled the most horrible smell I had ever experienced, and I could feel its presence. I turned around and saw orange glowing eyes peering at me through the trees. They were up high too. This thing was at least 6 feet tall. I ran inside and closed the door and locked it as fast as I could. I reached over and turned off the inside lights and turned on all the outside floodlights. I grabbed my pistol and went around to look out all the windows. As I came to the back windows and looked into the dense woods, now illuminated by the lights, I almost passed out. The first one I saw was as big as a horse. Had long, lanky limbs that ended in long, clawed, hand-like feet. It had a dog-like face with vicious teeth and horrible reddish eyes. And that ain't even the worst part. There's freaking 30 of them looking at me right now. I know trying to get to my truck was out of the question. That would be my death. Hopefully I'm safe inside the house. I have my pistol and there's a shotgun here too. I went to go get my phone out of my bag and realized my bag is out in the truck. It's 11 p.m. at this point. There's no way in hell I'm going out there. I've been sitting here trying to be still, but it seems as if they know where I am inside the house. They are just watching me. One of them seems to be the leader. It's a lot bigger than the others, and it's a lot closer than the rest of them. It's 12 a.m., and the leader is starting to move closer, very slowly, directly towards where I am. They shouldn't be able to see me, but they know right where I'm sitting. As I got out onto the deck, I could hear it coming up the deck. So I shut the door really fast. And I looked out the window. I raised my pistol. The window was raised about 2 inches and I put my barrel to the screen and aimed. I shot right at its neck, trying to hit its spine. It flinched. It ran back to the edge of the trees. It lost almost no blood and almost seemed to heal the wound as I watched. It then raised up on its back legs and made the most god-awful howling noise I had ever heard. It hurt my ears and I felt it shake my bones. I wrote this so if I don't make it tonight, someone will find this. They are still out there, just staring towards me, waiting. I have 11 bullets left and 5 shotgun shells. I don't think they can save me, though. Wow, what a letter, guys. Basically, this was the man's if I die letter. He told us how his night was, and I think this is the most terrifying ordeal I've ever come across. As far as living to tell about it. Wow, guys. Hate to say it, but I think he made the right choice. Run like hell and sail. Anyways, when I first found this, there was no comments or updates. But now I've come across some updates from the realtor. And she has a lot to say. So, if you'll tune in to part 2, you'll find out what she has to say.